And one of the viewers has asked, does the panel think all major economies will go into recession? And they also ask, if so, how long do they think these recessions will last? But I think that's a really interesting point, especially for an equity investor. Is it now time to be kind of looking at that geographic dispersion? And yeah, do you believe we will see a kind of several track kind of recession trajectory?
I think we generally do see that, and we definitely will see that over the next year or two. I.e., there will be countries out there which do not have a recession. It's just that probably, and I'm thinking here predominantly of leading emerging markets, will have slightly less growth than perhaps people were expecting 1 or 2 years ago in terms of their profile. But this tells us what we've all been kind of talking about, which is that investors have to change. And they have to change because life changes. And in the case of the investment world, the parts of the world which are producing the more growth, the more opportunities for the average company to find new customers and make profits, is no longer so focused on the UK, Europe, or the States. It is now focused predominantly a little bit more on the emerging markets, and that will continue being apparent in the average sector, for the average company, the average sector, as the next decade or so continues. So this is why investment choices, be it equity, bonds, or anything else, does need to factor that in. So for me, am I worried about a recession? The answer is no. It is going to happen in a number of countries, including our own perceptions about what will happen in the UK. Is it a disaster? No, because we've all seen it many times before. And frankly, I'd worry more if we thought we would never have a recession, because that would kind of suggest that people weren't really thinking about the realities of the ups and downs of the investment cycle. But the better news is that there are opportunities out there. But this is why not only the average investor, but underneath that, the average company, the average bond investor, the average commodity expert or related has to approach the world in a different way. And I know that feels tricky in a world which is still unfortunately impacted by some deeply unfortunate events in Ukraine by Russia. But reality is that the broader emerging markets universe remains, to me, attractive for the investor over the rest of the 2020s and into the 2030s, let alone before we discuss matters around green economies and related matters. I guess what I'm trying to say is there is plenty of positivity there. It's not just a negative, oh my goodness, this is a difficult world. It is tricky, but it's not impossible.
Can I also chime in there, potentially an unpopular view, but I think we're so used to recession. It means sharp recessions, weird ones like COVID or global financial crises. Not all recessions are bad. In the grand scheme, this sort of cycle where you have mild recessions, not great for those directly affected, of course, but in a broader sort of investment point of view, one way of looking at it is effectively recycling some of that capital from poorly productive and bad uses of capital into new productive forms of capital. So actually, a sort of gentle cleansing of the economy is not an entirely unhealthy thing, and it can create opportunities on the other side. So I think we should just embrace them, not always try and avoid them, but accept there are boom times and then there are these periods of cleansing and recycling, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in the long term.